Hi guys, welcome back to Sunday School. We are going back to our lessons in the Old Testament again. Last week we did the 10 Commandments when Moses went up the mountain and God gave him the 10 rules that the Israelites and all of us were supposed to live by. And today we're going to pick up with, and we're going to learn about the Tabernacle today. But first, like we do every Sunday in our Sunday School opening, we're going to start with the Books of the Bible song so we can keep continuing to learn on the books of the Bible so we can find them when we're learning about them in class.
One, two, three. Hold on, the car's going by. One, two, three.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. That's the old, louder this time. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. That's the Old Testament. All right. Okay, now we are going to play a game. So I'm going to bring Max and Aaliyah over here. And for this game, over here. You can use anything at home, really. I'm using cups and bowls. So if you want to play along with us and you want to pause us and get, you will need 4 cups, or 5 cups, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups and 4 bowls. And we're just going to follow some instructions on just building a little thing at the table with the cups and the bowls. But you have to listen carefully because they're very specific instructions that we have. Okay, so first you're going to take a bowl and you're going to place it upside down right in front of you. Move it back a little bit, kind of in the middle of your workspace there. And then you're going to take 2 cups and you're going to place them 2 inches, 2 inches to the left and 2 inches to the right of the bowl upside down. So very specifically. Okay, then we are going to place a cup right side up directly on top of that bowl that you have in the middle. Right side up. Then you're going to place 2 cups, one right side up, and one will be 1 inch in front of the bowl and one will be 1 inch behind the bowl. 1 inch, so that'll be a little bit closer than the cups that are to the left and to the right. Okay. Then, where are we here? You're going to place a bowl right side up on each of the cups that are to the left and to the right of the bowl. So there'll be 2 bowls on top of the cups that are to the left and the right. Then you're going to take your last bowl that you have and you're going to place it upside down on top of the cup that's on the bowl in the middle. Yep, so when you're done, they did pretty good. It should look just like they did. Your cup's 2 inches on the side, 1 inch on the front and back. Sometimes I said right side up, sometimes I said upside down. So they did good. Thank you guys. So we are going to learn today about some very specific instructions that God gave for them to build the tabernacle. It's long. We're going to read it together in a minute. God gave these instructions in the Bible, and the tabernacle was a special tent, and that was where holy God dwelt with his people. Because at this point, they didn't have Jesus to go to, right? Jesus wasn't born yet. So the people didn't have any direct connection to God like we do today. So God instructed them to build this tabernacle, which was a tent where God could dwell with his people there on earth. So last week we learned about the rules that God had given Moses, the 10 Commandments, to teach them how to live. And the tabernacle was going to be built to help sinful people separate from God so that they would not be destroyed. But it also gave the people a way to come and worship God, come to God and worship. So we have a lot of reading to do in the Bible today, but I want to read it all because it shows how important and specific it was, the instructions. So we're going to turn to Exodus chapter 25. We're going to start at the beginning of 25 and read towards the end of 27. If you want to take a minute and find Exodus, we know it's the second book of the Bible. We're going to go to 25. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel, that they take for me a contribution. From every man whose heart moves him, you shall receive the contribution for me. And this is the contribution that you shall receive from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and fine twined linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, goat skins, acacia wood, oil for the lamp, spices for the anointing oil and for the fragrant incense, onyx stones and stones for setting, for the ephod and for the breastpiece. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst, exactly as I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle and of all its furniture, so you shall make it. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, 1 cubit and a half its breadth, and 1 cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and outside you shall overlay it, and you shall make on it a molding of gold around it. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them on its 4 feet, 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. You shall make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold, and you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark by them. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. You shall put into the ark the testimony that I shall give you. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, and 1 cubit and a half its breadth. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, and hammered work shall you make them on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub on the one end, and 1 cherub on the other end. Of one piece with the mercy seat shall you make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubim shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings, their faces to one another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be. And you shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, I will speak with you about all that I will give you in commandment for the people of Israel. You shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits shall be its length, 1 cubit its breadth, and 1 cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, and make a molding of gold around it. And you shall make a rim around it, a handbreadth wide, and a molding of gold around the rim. And you shall make it 4 rings of gold, and fasten the rings to the 4 corners at its 4 legs. Close to the frame the rings shall lie as holders for the poles to carry the table. You shall make the poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold, and the table shall be carried with these. And you shall make its plates and dishes for incense, and its flagons and bowls with which to pour drink offerings. You shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set the bread of the presence on the table before me regularly. You shall make me a lampstand of pure gold. The lampstand shall be made of hammered work, its base, its stem, its cups, its calyxes, its flowers shall be of one piece with it. And there shall be 6 branches going out on its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side of it, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side of it. 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and a flower on one branch, and 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on the other branch. So for the 6 branches going out of the lampstand, and on the lampstand itself there shall be 4 cups made like almond blossoms, with their calyxes and flowers, and calyx of one piece with it under each pair of the 6 branches going out from the lampstand. Their calyxes and their branches shall be of one piece with it, the whole of it single piece of hammered work of pure gold. You shall make 7 lamps for it, and the lamps shall be set up so as to give light on the space in front of it. Its tongs and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made with all these utensils out of a talent of pure gold, and see that you make them after the pattern for them which is being shown you on the mountain. And 26. Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet yarns. You shall make with them cherubim skillfully worked into them. The length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits, and all the curtains shall be the same size. 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another. And you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain in the first set. Likewise, you shall make loops on the edge of the outermost curtain in the second set. 50 loops you shall make on one curtain, and 50 loops you shall make on the edge of the curtain that is in the second set. The loops shall be opposite of one another. And you shall make 50 clasps of gold, and couple the curtains to one another with clasps, so that the tabernacle may be a single whole. You shall also make curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains shall you make. The length of each curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains shall be the same size. You shall couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and the 6th curtain you shall double over at the front of the tent. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is the outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is the outermost in the second set. You shall make 50 clasps of bronze, and put the clasps into the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be a single whole. And the part that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the tabernacle. And the extra that remains in the length of the curtains, the cubit on one side and the cubit on the other side, shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and that side to cover it. And you shall make for the tent a covering of tanned rams skins, and covering of goat skins on top. You shall make upright frames for the tabernacle of acacia wood. 10 cubits shall be the length of a frame, and a cubit and a half the breadth of each frame. There shall be 2 tendons in each frame for fitting together. So shall you do for all the frames of the tabernacle. You shall make the frames for the tabernacle, 20 frames for the south side, and 40 bases of silver you shall make under the 20 frames. 2 bases under one frame for its 2 tenons, and 2 bases under the next frame for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, on the north side, 20 frames, and their 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under one frame, and 2 bases under the text frame. And for the rear of the tabernacle westward you shall make 6 frames, and you shall make 2 frames for the corners of the tabernacle in the rear. They shall be separate beneath, but joined at the top of the first ring. Thus shall it be with both of them. They shall form 2 corners, and there shall be 8 frames with their bases of silver, 16 bases, 2 bases under one frame, and 2 bases under another frame. You shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames of the side of the tabernacle at the rear westward. The middle bar, halfway up the frames, shall run from end to end. You shall overlay the frames with gold, and shall make their rings of gold for holders for the bars, and you shall overlay the bars with gold. Then you shall erect the tabernacle according to the plan for it that you were shown on the mountain. You shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen. It shall be made with cherubims skillfully worked into it. You shall hang it on the 4 pillars of acacia overlaid with gold, with hooks of gold on 4 bases of silver. And you shall hang the veil from the clasps, and bring the ark of the testimony in there with the veil. And the veil shall separate for you the holy place from the most holy. You shall put the mercy seat on the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, and the lampstand on the south side of the tabernacle, opposite the table, and you shall put the table on the north side. You shall make a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen, embroidered with needlework. And you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia and overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold, and you shall cast 5 bases of bronze for them. And 27. You shall make the altar of acacia wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. And you shall make horns for it on its 4 corners. Its horns shall be of 1 piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. You shall make pots for it to receive its ashes, and shovels and basins and forks and fire pans. You shall make all its utensils of bronze. You shall also make for it grating and network of bronze, and on the net you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. And you shall set it under the ledge of the altar, so that the net extends halfway down the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. And the poles shall be put through the rings, so that the poles are on the 2 sides of the altar when it's carried. You shall make it hollow with boards, as it has been shown you on the mountain, so shall it be made. You shall make the court of the tabernacle. On the south side of the court shall have hangings of fine twined linen, 100 cubits long for one side. Its 20 pillars and their 20 bases shall be of bronze, but the hooks of the pillars and their fillets shall be of silver. And likewise, for its length on the north side there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, its pillars 20, and their bases 20 of bronze. But the hooks of the pillars and their fillets shall be of silver. And for the breadth of the court on the west side there shall be hangings for 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and 10 bases. The breadth of the court on the front to the east shall be 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and 3 bases. On the other side the hangings shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and 3 basins. For the gates of the court there shall be a screen 20 cubits long of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen, embroidered with needlework. It shall have 4 pillars, and with them 4 bases. All the pillars around the court shall be filleted with silver. Their hooks shall be of silver, and their bases of bronze. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50, and the height 5 cubits, with hangings of fine twined linen and bases of bronze, all the utensils of the tabernacle for every use, and all its pegs, and all pegs of the court shall be of bronze. And I'm going to skip over and just read 10 more verses in 30. So this is chapter 30, starting with verse 1. You shall make an altar on which to burn incense. You shall make it of acacia wood. A cubit shall be its length, and a cubit its breadth. It shall be square, and 2 cubits shall be its height. Its horns shall be of 1 piece with you. It shall overlay it with pure gold, its top, and around its sides and its horns. You shall make a molding of gold around it, and you shall make 2 golden rings for it. Under its molding on 2 opposite sides of it you shall make them, and they shall be holders for poles with which to carry it. You shall make poles of the acacia wood and overlay them with gold, and you shall put it in front of the veil that is above the ark of the testimony, in front of the mercy seat that is above the testimony, where I will meet with you. And Aaron shall burn fragrant incense on it. Every morning when he dresses the lamps he shall burn it, and when Aaron sets up the lamps at twilight he shall burn it, a regular incense offering before the Lord throughout your generations. You shall not offer unauthorized incense on it, or a burnt offering, or a grain offering, and you shall not pour a drink offering on it. Aaron shall make atonement on its horns once a year. With the blood of the sin offering of atonement he shall make atonement for it once in the year throughout your generations. It is most holy to the Lord. So that was a lot of very specific instructions. I would not want to be in charge of following those orders, but they were very specific and they were very important of how God wanted the tabernacle to be built. So we're going to go through that way slower so we can kind of get an understanding of what each thing was, what the part of the tabernacle was. So while we're doing that, we're going to do the craft along with it. So what you're going to need, if you got, again, the email from Pastor Josh, you can come join me, Aaliyah. I think it was page 33. I was trying to remember this week. You might want to print this out if you can, if you want to pause me and go find this, when Pastor Josh sent that out a while ago. And again, if you don't have a printer at home, Pastor Josh is happy to mail you any of this stuff, or you can pick it up at the church. So this is the page you're looking for. So what you're going to want to do first, after you print this out, is cut them all out. Just, you don't have to cut them. I know some kids like to cut very specifically, but this is how I cut. You don't have to make them super specific to cut everything around it. And then you're going to take a plain piece of paper, and we're going to just draw it like this. This is all you have to do, is take any colored paper, leave a little bit of space up top, then draw a big square towards the bottom and a line down the middle. And this is going to be our tabernacle that we're making. And then you'll just need a glue stick. If you want to color later towards the end, you certainly can do that. If you want to get really even more specific with some of the instructions of the curtains and all those things that were laid out, you can certainly do that later too. Okay, so the first thing we had was the courtyard. As you approach, you would see pure white curtains, and that prevented the people from seeing inside. And the white shows God's purity, because we know that white is a pure thing, and it separated God from the rest of the world, because God was pure and holy. And inside the courtyard, we had the big altar. You can go ahead and glue that on. And let's see here. We had the altar, and that was made of wood, and it was covered in bronze. And there were 2 lambs that were sacrificed on the altar every day, once in the morning and once in the evening, as well as sometimes there were other sacrifices brought in, especially on holier days, special holidays they had. But every day there were sacrifices brought in. And also in there we had the basin. And the basin was filled with water, and the priests used the basin for washing. So only the priests were allowed in the temples. God made Aaron and his family, his sons, the priests. So this wasn't a place that all the people could go in. Only the priests could go in here. And the basin was for washing their hands, keeping themselves pure. Then after we go beyond the courtyard was the holy place. And that's this section here. And before you even got there were 4 coverings. And the first 3 were made of really strong animal skin. And that was mostly for protection, to keep all the dirt and all the things that could come in from weather, everything out of there. And then the innermost was, again, bright white, pure white. And it had a cherubim woven into it with blue and purple and scarlet thread. So again, the white was purity, and the cherubim were the little angel beings whose job was to guard God's holiness. So in this room, we had the table for bread, and that was made of wood and covered in gold. And on that table, you could draw this later if you want, were 12 loaves of bread, and they were called the bread of presence. And there were 12, because we remember there were 12 tribes of Israel. So the 12 loaves of bread represented the 12 tribes of Israel. And that was God's fellowship with Israel. We know those were his chosen people. And every week on the Sabbath, the priests ate the bread. They ate the 12 loaves of bread and then replaced them. And also in there, we read about in the Bible, I need to make sure you have room for all of them, was the golden lampstand. And that was pure gold, and it had 7 lamps, and they were never to all be extinguished at one time. They had to make sure that something was always burning, mostly because there was no other light. If you think of how dark it would have been with all those curtains of thick animal skin, and that was the light that they had in there. And then lastly, they had the altar of incense. That was the smaller one that we cut out. And again, that was covered in gold. And the incense that was burned in there was different from all the other incense that the people burned for other reasons. Because God is very distinct from the world, and they wanted a distinct incense in there. And incense burning, that kind of puts off some smoke, and that's to represent the prayers of the people. It would rise up to heaven, just like the prayers of the people rising up to heaven. Then we go into the Holy of Holies, and that was a place that only the high priest could enter. That was not a place the other priests, only the high priest could enter. And if you caught that towards the end of the reading, he could only enter it on one day of a year. So only one day of the year did one specific person enter into the Holy of Holies. And that was on the Day of Atonement. And in the Holy of Holies, we have the Ark of the Covenant. And it wasn't very big. Some people think of the ark as a really big thing. It was about 2 feet high, 2 feet wide, 4 feet long. And it was made of wood, but again, it was also covered in gold. And inside were the tablets of the stones that were given to Moses with the 10 Commandments. The lid on it, you can see, has the 2 cherubim. And they were facing each other, and their wings are attached there. And it also had, you could draw later, it had some blood that was sprinkled by the high priest, some sacrificial blood. So that's a lot. And like I said, if you really wanted to take this and go back through some of the reading in the Bible, you could color some of the curtains that were different colors and had things in it. But this just gives you a little bit of an explanation of the main things that were in each of the rooms for the tabernacle. And, as we read in the Bible, how specific all the directions really were for how God wanted it built. And the tabernacle explains how the holy God can dwell with sinful people and how sinful people can dwell with the holy God. So we know today we don't have a tabernacle, and we don't have any buildings. We don't have to do sacrifices to animals. We don't have to do anything like that, because today we have Jesus. And Jesus is our tabernacle. Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. He came to earth to sacrifice himself for our sin. In fact, when Jesus died on the cross, the veil of the temple was torn. It was torn in two, and that opened the way for us to have a direct relationship with God through Jesus. Because before that, people couldn't. They had to go through all these other ways to get to Jesus. So all of us that have faith and believe in Jesus, we don't need to do a tabernacle. We don't need to do sacrifices or burn incense. We go directly to God through Jesus, his son. All right, so we are going to, the verse for today, you can say it after me. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. And that's Exodus 25, verse 8. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. And now we're just going to close in prayer. We know that we bow our heads and close our eyes. Lord, thank you for bringing us together for this lesson today. Thank you for showing us how holy you are and how much you are to be praised. We thank you most of all for sending Jesus to those who believe, so that we can have a relationship directly with you through your Son, the ultimate sacrifice. We pray you keep us all healthy and safe. In your name, amen. Thank you.